Good afternoon, I'm Leila Muslimov and you're watching A News. Now, the major stories making headlines today. The United States and Ukraine signed a long-awaited natural resources deal. Trump asks business chiefs for a little bit of time as the US economy shrinks. The 8 countries to use the unified payment platform to boost trade. The US and the Ukraine have finalized a landmark deal giving Washington access to Ukraine's natural resources in exchange for reconstruction support. After months of tense talks and unexpected delays, the deal also establishes a joint investment fund to aid the country's recovery from the war.
The United States and Ukraine have signed a deal for the joint exploitation of Ukraine's energy and mineral resources following several months of tense negotiations. This follows a breakthrough reached days ago during a private meeting between the two leaders at Pope Francis's funeral in the Vatican City. The initial agreement, which was expected to be signed in February, collapsed after US President Donald Trump accused Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky of risking World War III. The US Treasury Department announced the agreement alongside the creation of a new reconstruction investment fund to support Ukraine's recovery. The Treasury also issued a statement acknowledging the significant financial and material aid Washington has provided Kyiv since the war with Russia began in 2022. Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister, Yulia Sviridenko, was in Washington to finalize the deal. She says it would be a 50-50 partnership, with Ukraine retaining ownership of its resources. She also says that the fund would attract global investment. US President Donald Trump stressed that the agreement was necessary to secure American investments and ensure a return to American aid.
And I didn't want to make a complicated deal. I didn't want to make a deal that couldn't be made because Ukraine doesn't have very much money. They're going through a very bad period of time. It's been brutal. But I felt very foolish being a judge, so I said, well, we want something for our efforts beyond what you would think would be acceptable. And we said rare earth. They have very good rare earth. As you know, we're looking for rare earth all the time. Rare earth is called rare for a reason. And they have a lot, and we made a deal where our money is secure, where we can start digging and doing what we have to do. It's also good for them because you'll have an American presence at the site, Chris, and the American presence will, I think, keep a lot of bad actors out of the country or certainly out of the area where we're doing the digging. So we made a deal, and I assume they're going to honor the deal. And I put Scott in charge, and Scott's done it beautifully, but we haven't really seen the fruits of that deal yet. I suspect we will.
According to a draft of the agreement, Ukraine removed a clause that would have required it to repay past US military assistance. While the deal still needs to be ratified by Ukrainian lawmakers, it includes new US support, such as air defense systems. The agreement also grants the United States privileged access to Ukraine's vast deposits of natural resources, including graphite, aluminium, titanium, oil, and gas. These are vital materials for clean energy, military industries, and high-tech infrastructure.
President Donald Trump is calling for patience as the US economy posts its first quarterly contraction in 3 years. Speaking to business leaders, he remained optimistic about the rebound and promised sweeping economic reforms.
President Donald Trump on Wednesday urged business leaders to be patient as the US economy recorded a first quarter contraction, calling for a little bit of time to revive growth. Speaking at an event promoting investment in the United States, Trump acknowledged the economic dip and the political toll of his tariff policies, but expressed confidence that a rebound was imminent.
In the first quarter GDP numbers just out today, core GDP, now we're removing distortions from imports, inventories, and government spending, was up plus 3%. But this is Biden's economy because we took over on January 20th. And I think you have to get us a little bit of time to get moving, but this is the Biden economy. But we still had and we've had a lot of things happen since November 5th that helped this economy.
Trump remained optimistic despite the setback, pointing to continued strength in consumer spending and investment as early signs of recovery. He criticised previous climate-related spending initiatives, referring to them as unnecessary and harmful to the deficit, and vowed to eliminate such programmes. Looking ahead, Trump pledged sweeping economic reforms, including what he described as the largest tax cuts in US history and unprecedented business initiatives. He also reflected on his previous term, portraying it as the most successful of any US presidency.
US President Donald Trump said that more than 100 countries, including India, Japan and South Korea, are in talks for a potential trade agreement with the US. Speaking during a News Nation town hall, he stressed that there is no rush to finalize these deals. The US is already benefiting from existing tariffs. The comments come as the Commerce Department reported 0.3% annual decline in GDP for the first quarter, marking the first economic contraction in the 3 years. The drop is largely attributed to a surge in imports as companies rush to get ahead of sweeping tariffs on autos, steel and aluminum. Hundreds of Panamanians took to the streets of the Panama city on Tuesday, protesting against a new security agreement with the United States. The deal was signed in mid-April and allows American troops to beat up police stationed in Panama for joint security operations. Demonstrators say the agreement threatens Panama's sovereignty and could increase U.S. influence over the Panama Canal, which has been under Panamanian control since 1998. Tensions have increased after U.S. President Donald Trump said he wants to take back control of the strategic waterway and let U.S. ships pass through free of charge. A drone strike early Thursday morning has caused significant fires and widespread damage to buildings and infrastructure in Odessa, Ukraine's strategic Black Sea port city. The local mayor, Hennady Trukhanov, arrived at the scene shortly after the attack and says buildings were heavily damaged and residents have been affected. Also, the regional governor confirmed there has been severe damage to civilian infrastructure, especially to homes. There were no immediate reports of the casualties. Following Russia's unilateral declaration of a 3-day ceasefire in May in honor of the Victory Day, Ukraine dismissed it as an attempt to manipulate, saying that the right of course of the action toward the peace would be a 30-day ceasefire. Both Moscow and Kyiv saying they are open to talks, while Washington is threatening to abandon its peace efforts unless there is real progress.
Ukraine is signalling readiness for negotiations, but not on Russia's terms. Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha said peace talks can begin in any format if Moscow demonstrates genuine intent, not what he called peace populism or a propaganda ceasefire for the May 9th parade. He stated that Russia must stop talking about its readiness for peace and start acting by agreeing unconditionally to a real and durable ceasefire. Moscow has declared a unilateral 3-day ceasefire starting May 8th ahead of Victory Day, a symbolic holiday in Russia. But Ukraine's leadership swiftly rejected the gesture. President Volodymyr Zelensky called it another attempt at manipulation, and Kyiv insists that peace must begin with a ceasefire lasting at least 30 days.
If Russia is so much willing to stop the war, why don't we start the ceasefire today? Why wait till 8th of May? Peace without justice is not peace, it's a surrender. And this is what actually Russia wants. They want Ukraine to surrender. They want Ukraine to capitulate. So we have bad news for Russia. Ukraine will not surrender. Again, this is our country. This is our home.
In New York, France pushed for stronger international pressure at the UN Security Council.
I call upon President Putin, ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire. France cherishes the hope that the Council will unanimously demand a comprehensive, immediate, unconditional ceasefire.
Russia's UN ambassador Vasily Nebenzia insisted Moscow remains open to diplomacy and that President Putin's truce could pave the way for direct talks.
Such a step could be the prelude to direct peace talks between the Russian Federation and Ukraine without any preconditions whatsoever.
Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov reiterated that Moscow's goal is a sustained long-term solution and that the peace process continues. However, he claimed there has been no response from Kyiv so far. Across the Atlantic, the US is also recalibrating its stance.
We are now at a time where concrete proposals need to be delivered by the two parties on how to end this conflict. If there is not progress, we will step back as mediators in this process.
While Moscow points to temporary truces, Kyiv insists only a full and unconditional ceasefire can unlock real negotiations. With France calling Russia the sole obstacle and the United States warning it may step back from its mediating role, the spotlight is now on Moscow's next move and whether words will finally turn into action.
And the aftermath of this latest meeting of Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, one of the central questions asked by many analysts, if there are a number of deals signed between the sides, including those in the domain of defence, will have a considerable bearing upon Europe's general security at a time when arms industry orders continue to increase in response to the war in Ukraine. To discuss this subject further, joining us now live from Rome is Valeria Gianotta, a political analyst and commentator. Ms. Gianotta, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting.
So, Ms. Gianotta, Turkey and Italy are two NATO allies, but Turkey is not a member of the EU, consequently is not automatically entitled to what is referred as the Europe Strategic Defence Plan, so to speak. Do you believe that defence cooperation between Ankara and Rome could enable Turkey to be part of the wider continental scheme?
Definitely in Rome 2 days ago, an important memorandum of understanding has been signed between the Italian defense company Leonardo and the Turkish leader production company in terms of unmanned drones by car. And what does it mean? It means that for the first time, the Turkish production will be based on the Italian territory. The joint venture indeed is aiming at penetrating further the European market and to take a sort of slice of investment within Europe worth of $10 billion in a medium and long period. This definitely will enable Turkey to penetrate further the European system and as well to integrate the regional European system with the Mediterranean regional system where Turkey plays a pivotal role. In terms of defense and rearming Europe, we shouldn't forget that Turkey has been for long embedded within the European architecture in terms of customs union, in terms of long-standing candidacy to European Union. And moreover, strategically, Turkey has been very active in mediating between Russia and Ukraine. And this was a point which has been deeply acknowledged by the Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, who personally thanked President Erdogan for the key role on the mediation on Ukraine, despite some other dossier. Besides this, Italy and Turkey are both members of NATO Defense Alliance, and they are the key points for the challenges and threats coming from the eastern and south flank of the alliance. Therefore, this integration of the Italian system made by Leonardo, as well as the innovation and technology made by Baykar, would play as a pivot in terms of defense and security. Even because, as Giorgia Meloni mentioned, Italy and Turkey have the historic responsibility as the center of the Mediterranean to grant stability and ensuring security in the Euro-Mediterranean region.
And Ms. Giannotta, Italy is Turkey's second largest commercial partner in Europe, and a new trade turnover target is set at $40 billion. Prime Minister Meloni already stated that the bilateral relations between their countries could easily be number one in the Mediterranean. How likely is this?
Actually, yes, Italy is the second partner of Turkey within Europe, the first one already within the Mediterranean basin. If we look at the bilateral trade exchange, has been very positive and it marks a constant growing. I would like just to provide some example. In 2019, for example, the bilateral trade stood as $90 billion. In 2023, it increased to $26 billion. In 2024, it marked a 17% growth, sealing a $32 billion target, which actually went further beyond the joint target that Italy and Turkey sealed during the last intergovernmental summit of 2022. Therefore, there are margins to believe that throughout the complementarities of the business environment, the activity of the Italian companies in Turkey, and the growing number of the Turkish companies in Italy, the target of $40 billion in the medium term will be easily reached. There are some strategic sectors where Turkey and Italy are working, which is defense, aerospace, energy, circular economy, infrastructure, innovation, and manufacturing. So definitely this complementarity has to be perceived not just in terms of bilateral complementarity, but also in a vision of further penetrating as well third markets and to establish a sort of Turkish-Italian axis with a global vocation.
Thank you for your insightful answers. That was Valeria Giannotta, political analyst.
Thank you.
Germany's military spending has rapidly increased, making it the world's fourth largest military spender, the highest the country has been since the end of the Cold War.
Germany has become Europe's biggest military spender for the first time since the end of the Cold War. Berlin's defense spending soared to $88.5 billion in 2024. That's a 28% increase from 2023 and an 89% rise since 2015. The country is now spending 1.9% of its GDP, approaching NATO's current target of 2%, and making it the world's fourth largest military spender. Germany's rapid military growth can be attributed to a special defense fund announced in 2022, which allowed for significant arms procurement and military research initiatives. In 2024, Germany also provided $7.7 billion in military aid to Ukraine, making it the second largest donor to Ukraine's defense efforts behind the United States. On the global scale, the United States remains the world's largest defense spender, outlaying $997 billion last year. China takes second place with $314 billion. And Russia takes third with $149 billion.
Wildfires have broken out near Jerusalem, forcing evacuations and disrupting key Memorial Day and Independence Day events. The blaze has led to road closures and an urgent international appeal for help.
Wildfires erupted on the outskirts of Jerusalem on Wednesday, driven by extreme heat and strong winds. The fires forced the evacuation of 3 communities and shut down parts of Route 1, the main highway connecting Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Videos showed thick smoke blanketing the hills, and in some cases drivers were seen abandoning their vehicles or navigating through walls of fire. At least 13 people have been injured, according to police, though no deaths have been reported. Fire and rescue services, supported by military search and rescue teams, are battling the flames with aircraft and helicopters. With Israel marking Memorial Day and preparing for its 77th Independence Day, many ceremonies were cancelled, including the main state event in Jerusalem. Prime Minister Netanyahu said Italy and Croatia will send firefighting planes, while Israel has also requested help from Greece, Cyprus and Bulgaria.
Several storms have battered New Zealand, bringing the strongest winds in more than a decade to the capital Wellington on Thursday. A state of emergency has been declared in Canterbury's southern district, where residents are urged to evacuate as the rivers rose rapidly. Authorities warn against non-essential travel. Wind gusts are reaching 160 kilometers an hour, grounding all flights at Wellington Airport. A red wind warning was issued for the capital, the first time the alert system was introduced in 2019. Turkey is marking a significant milestone in its energy diplomacy. For the first time, Turkish Petroleum is investing in oil exploration in Europe following a landmark deal with Hungary's energy giant MOL. The agreement not only strengthens bilateral ties between Ankara and Budapest, but also opens the door to wider cooperation in the energy sector.
Turkey's national oil company Turkish Petroleum Corporation, or TPAO, has partnered with Hungary's MOL Group to explore and produce oil at the 2 sites in Hungary. The collaboration, which represents the first Turkish oil and gas investment in Europe, will focus on the onshore Buzak and Tamasi blocks. This step follows the joint bidding agreement signed last year between the 2 energy firms, culminating in a successful bidding process that secured TPAO's exploration rights. The deal was cemented with a concession agreement signed by TPAO General Manager Ahmet Türkoğlu and MOL Chairman Zsolt Hernadi. Turkish Energy and Natural Resources Minister Alparslan Bayraktar and Hungarian Foreign Affairs and Trade Minister Peter Szijjártó attended the ceremony in Budapest. During the event, Minister Bayraktar highlighted that energy cooperation has become a cornerstone of Turkey-Hungary relations. He said that the partnership between the 2 organizations represents a key milestone in deepening bilateral energy collaboration and is expected to grow not just in Hungary, but also in third countries across multiple regions. Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó echoed that sentiment, underlining the strategic importance of Turkey in Hungary's energy security. He said the new agreement marks the beginning of a broader cooperation in oil production, both within Hungary and beyond.
More on the landmark deal between the Turkish Petroleum Corporation and Hungary's energy giant MOL, and why the energy landscape evolving is not just Turkey and Hungary, but also some other countries too. Joining me live is Vusala Jafarova, head of Turkey World Research at the Center of Analysis of Economic Reforms and Communication. Thank you very much indeed for joining us today, Ms. Jafarova.
Yes, thank you very much. Bilateral cooperation, as you know, between Turkey and Hungary continues at a very high level across many sectors, with energy standing out as one of the most significant areas of partnership. Both countries face similar challenges, and as Turkey and Hungary rely heavily on imported energy resources. Referring to Monday's blackout in Western Europe, energy security has become even more critical and important issue. And in this increasingly uncertain world market, by shifting trade policies on the other side and rising customs tariffs, energy security is more vital than ever. That's why Turkey's gas export to non-neighboring countries through the deal between Turkish Petroleum, Potash and Hungary MBB in 2023 put the foundation of the deal that we observe today. And when Hungary Energy Minister also visited Turkey, they underscored the importance of this deal. And as you know, Hungary's energy security cannot exist without Turkey. Since last year, Hungary broke a huge record with 7.6 billion cubic meters of natural gas arriving in Hungary through the Turkish Stream pipeline. So far this year, this exceeded 20 billion cubic meters per day. Hungary's exemption from sanctions imposed on the Gazprom Bank has been expanded by US administration, as in Turkey's case. Last year, Hungary also bought natural gas directly from Turkey for the first time in its history, which made also to today's event to happen. The Hungarian energy company MVM, responsible for gas procurement, has restarted negotiations with Turkey state-owned company Potash to secure direct purchase from Turkey again earlier this year. And I believe that Potash and MVM can play a significant role in gas trade and supply not only in Hungary but also across Europe.
And if I may ask, Ms. Jafarova, quite a number of analysts appear to think that this deal, if viewed as a part of a wider energy cooperation between Turkey and Hungary, could also be seen as the beginning of the construction of a large-scale energy infrastructure going well beyond these two countries. How do the South Caucasus and Central Asia come into this wider picture?
Definitely, as you know, Hungary is one of the important member of the Organization of Turkic States, OTS, even though it's observer member, but it's very important for the protecting interests of Turkic states in the European community. In that regard, early in March, when the Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó met with a Turkish energy minister in Ankara, and after the meeting, he mentioned that strategic cooperation between Hungarian and Turkic energy companies should take a broader, a new perspective. And he also announced that at that time, Hungarian oil and gas company OML and Turkish state-owned company TPO agreed to bid together the exploration of deposits of Hungary and establish joint venture. We think that the Turkish oil company plans to also extend this investment in Hungary and even increase it more than $15 million. These companies are already successfully cooperating in Russia. When it comes to the Central Asia, they're preparing the joint project in other countries. Both the MOL and the TPO signed the memorandum of understanding last October to establish the strategic partnership in hydrocarbon exploration and production. We witnessed the signing of what could be described as the TPO's first investment in Europe. When taking the partnership to expand further in third countries across various regions, it could be the Africa and Asia and Middle East and Central Asia, as you mentioned. It will open the new door for new opportunities and beneficial for both countries, especially when it comes to the Azerbaijan. As you know, the last December 17, 2020, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Romania, and Hungary signed the strategic partnership agreement in Bucharest for the construction of the 1,195-kilometer Black Sea Energy underwater electric cable. And in 2024, last year, energy operators from Azerbaijan, Romania, Georgia, and Hungary also signed a memorandum to establish a joint venture as part of the Black Sea Energy implementation. Bulgaria announced its first intention to join this project. So the Serbia and Moldova have also expressed interest in participating. The Black Sea Energy project provides, which is very highly important for linking the European and Central Asian energy projects to each other, provides the supply of green energy generation in the Azerbaijan sector of the Caspian Sea to Georgia, and then via the cable laid along the Black Sea bed to Europe. This corridor plans to export the 4 gigawatt of green energy annually. Of course, this will link to this will bring the other members of the Central Asian countries and Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and others to become part of this important project.
Yes. So thank you for your insightful answers. That was Vesela Jafarova, head of a Turkic World Research at the Center for Analysis and Economic Reforms. The Developing 8 Countries Economic Cooperation Organization, also known as D8, is aiming to boost mutual trade among its member states to $500 billion by 2030. Attending the Iran Expo in Tehran, D8 Secretary General Isiaka Abdulkadir Imam announced plans for a new cross-border payment system and emphasized the organization's expanding global footprint, especially after Azerbaijan joined the 9th member late last year.
Leaders of the member states of the Developing 8 Countries Economic Cooperation Organization, known as the D8, say they are committed to boosting mutual trade volume to $500 billion by 2030 at the latest. The group accepted Azerbaijan as a member at the 11th summit meeting held in Cairo in December last year, increasing the number of members to 9. The Secretary General Isiaka Abdulkadir Imam says that a D8 payment system will be implemented and used across all member countries.
2 of our members are in Africa, 2, Azerbaijan and Turkey, are in Europe, and while the others are in Asia. So that's part of some of the challenges that we have. But we're trying to overcome that because it could be an opportunity for us to expand our trade opportunities across the 3 continents. So it is a challenge, but we're trying to see how we can transform it into an opportunity for us.
A key initiative now underway is the D8 payment system, a financial platform similar to Visa or MasterCard, but customized for exclusive use among the 9 member states.
We have been working on that, on a D8 payment system. We are collaborating with a company in Malaysia called Comeps to develop our own customized D8 payment system, something akin to your Visa card or MasterCard, but that will be tenable within only the 9 member states. So we are working on that, and inshallah, before the first quarter or latest half quarter of next year, it should become active.
The organization was founded by Turkey, Iran, Egypt, Pakistan, Malaysia, Indonesia, Bangladesh and Nigeria at the Summit of Member States and Heads of Government held in Istanbul in 1997. With the Istanbul Declaration, the D8 maintains its existence as an international organization aimed at ensuring cooperation in development and increasing trade and cooperation between the member countries.
A new mass grave has been discovered in Azerbaijan's Khojaly. This discovery adds another painful chapter to the long-standing search for missing Azerbaijanis from the Khojaly massacre, a tragedy that claimed lives of over 600 civilians in 1992. Zainab Farajzadeh reports more from Khojaly.
During a recent investigation, bone fragments belonging to at least 7 individuals found along the Askran-Khojaly road. All of them were civilians. Evidence shows they were tortured, tied up and buried. Experts from multiple state bodies, including forensic and archaeological teams, inspected the site. The Karabakh region had been the site of mass killings and burials since the First Karabakh War in the early 1990s. During the war, the Armenian military occupied Karabakh, a territory internationally recognized as part of Azerbaijan, and 7 adjacent regions, including Khojaly. The town was the site of a 2-hour Armenian offensive that killed 613 Azerbaijani civilians, including 106 women, 63 children and 70 elderly people. 487 others were seriously injured, according to Azerbaijani figures. Some 150 of the 1,275 Azerbaijanis that the Armenians captured during what has now been called the Khojaly massacre remain missing, 8 families being completely wiped out.
Over in Kyrgyzstan, construction has begun on a major new railway stretching over 500 kilometers connecting China, Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan. Fariza Klimurzen has more.
In the Suzak district of the Jalalabad region, work is now underway on dozens of bridges and tunnels. Together, they will make up nearly 40% of the entire railway line. Just within Kyrgyzstan, there will be 3 large tunnels totaling more than 37 kilometers. The full road will stretch over 532 kilometers, with about 305 kilometers running through Kyrgyz territory. The rest will be shared between China and Uzbekistan. As it's expected, more than 20,000 people will be involved in construction, and the total investment is estimated at $4.7 billion. Since Kyrgyzstan is landlocked, the new railway opens a vital path to global trade. It's seen not just as a transport project, but as a strategic bridge between East and West. China holds a 51% stake in the joint venture and sees Kyrgyzstan as a key part of Trans-Eurasian trade. Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan each hold a 24.5% share. The project has been a long time coming. Talks about it started as far back as 1997. The official launch finally happened in December last year, with all 3 national leaders present. They emphasized that the railway's importance goes far beyond regional ties. The southern corridor linking Kashgar, Torugar, Jalalabad and Andijan will offer an alternative to roads through Kazakhstan and Russia, giving access to markets in Turkey, the Middle East and Europe. Meanwhile, experts believe the railway could cut shipping time from China to Europe by up to a week. Back in 2022, President Japarov said Kyrgyzstan could earn at least $200 million on a year once the railway is operational. If that happens, the country could go from being a landlocked transit outpost to a major hub on the global trade map. Fariza Kalimurzina, A News, in Almaty, Kazakhstan.
Thanks for spending a moment with A News. Until we meet again.